The scent of old textbooks, the echo of lockers slamming shut. School. A place of learning, of youthful dreams, and sometimes of secrets too dark for daylight. Welcome, seekers of unsettling truths, to Nightmare True Horror. Tonight, we unlock the classroom doors to 7 true tales where the hallowed halls became arenas of dread. What shadows from your own school days still linger? Share your hushed hallway confessions in the comments, and if the thought of what lurks behind the teacher's smile intrigues you, ensure you are subscribed. Class is now in session, and remember, the most terrifying lessons are often those not found in any textbook. Pay attention, for the final, chilling bell always rings when you least expect it. I never thought joining my high school drama club would land me in the middle of something that still gives me nightmares. My name's Haley. I'm 17. Just your average junior. Nothing special. Until the day Mr. Weaver, our drama teacher, brought in that antique knife. We were working on a thriller called The Midnight Visitor, and Mr. Weaver said we needed authentic props to give our production an edge. He'd been hitting up antique shops, flea markets, anywhere he could find creepy vintage stuff. That's when he unveiled the knife. It was old, with a bone-white handle carved in intricate patterns, the blade long, curved, and stained with rust. But something about it felt off. Just holding it gave me chills. Everyone else thought it was cool, but for me, it seemed a little too real. A couple days later, during rehearsal, my friend Tyler was messing around backstage, Googling local unsolved crimes for fun, because that's the kind of twisted humor he had. He showed me his phone, grinning. "Yo, check this out." I froze. On the screen was a grainy picture from 10 years ago. A murder weapon from an infamous local cold case. The unsolved murder of Sarah Brooks, a student who'd been killed in the woods behind our school. The knife in the photo was identical to ours. My stomach churned violently. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. "No way that's the same knife, Tyler." I laughed weakly, but I wasn't convincing either of us. Tyler's grin faded, replaced with a nervous glance toward the prop table. "You think Mr. Weaver knows?" he whispered. I didn't answer. Fear prickled along my spine. The following days felt different. Rehearsals turned tense. I kept catching Mr. Weaver staring at me oddly whenever I handled the knife. Maybe he knew Tyler and I suspected something, or maybe paranoia was messing with my head. I didn't know what to believe. One night after rehearsal, curiosity got the better of me. Alone backstage, I carefully picked up the knife, examining it under the dim stage lights. It was heavier than I remembered, its blade gleaming dully. Then I noticed something horrifying. Tiny specks along the handle that looked disturbingly like dried blood. My breath hitched, heart racing. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind me. I spun around, heart hammering. Mr. Weaver stood there, eyes dark in the shadows, expression unreadable. "Everything okay, Haley?" he asked softly, stepping closer. I swallowed hard, trying to act casual. "Yeah, just admiring the props." He nodded slowly, eyes fixed coldly on the knife. "Careful. Sometimes props can be dangerous." Something in his voice sent ice flooding through my veins. I quickly set the knife down and hurried past him, feeling his gaze drilling into my back until I escaped outside. After that night, things spiraled. Tyler found me at lunch the next day, pale-faced, gripping his phone tightly. Sarah Brooks, she was in drama club. Mr. Weaver was teaching then too. He knew her. I felt dizzy. Mr. Weaver had never mentioned Sarah, not once. The pieces clicked horribly into place. The knife, his strange behavior, the unsolved murder. Dread filled my stomach like lead. We agreed we had to tell someone. But who? And what exactly could we say? "Hey, we think our drama teacher is hiding evidence from a decade-old murder." I'd think we were crazy. Days passed, and the tension gnawed at me. Rehearsals turned unbearable. Every time Mr. Weaver handed me the knife, his eyes lingered, cold and knowing, making my skin crawl. Then came dress rehearsal night, alone backstage between scenes. I noticed Mr. Weaver slipping quietly into the prop room, carrying something wrapped in a cloth. Fear spiked. What was he hiding? Heart pounding, I followed silently, peering around the doorway. I saw him crouched beside an old cabinet, carefully placing the cloth-wrapped bundle inside. As he stepped away, our eyes met. His expression shifted to one of anger, then icy calm. "You shouldn't have seen that," he whispered softly. Panic surged through me. I turned and bolted, but his footsteps chased close behind. I sprinted blindly through the darkened halls, the echoes of his heavy steps closing in. Gasping, I burst onto the stage, nearly colliding with Tyler. "He's after me," I gasped, glancing back frantically. Tyler didn't hesitate. He grabbed a nearby spotlight, swinging it fiercely, just as Mr. Weaver lunged toward us from backstage shadows. The heavy equipment crashed into Weaver, sending him sprawling backward. Lights flickered on as cast members rushed toward the noise, confusion filling their faces. Weaver struggled up, eyes wild with fury and desperation. "It was an accident," he stammered, pointing shakily toward us. "They're lying!" But it was too late. Campus security quickly arrived, restraining Weaver as Tyler shouted explanations over Weaver's frantic denials. Police arrived shortly after, discovering the cloth bundle he'd hidden, bloodied clothing and personal items belonging to Sarah Brooks. Evidence he'd kept for years. Weaver finally confessed at trial. Sarah had discovered Weaver stealing drama club funds. Panicking, he confronted her after rehearsal. Things got out of hand, and he'd used the antique knife from the prop collection in a moment of rage. He'd hidden evidence in plain sight all these years, convinced he'd never be caught. Weaver was sentenced to life without parole. The drama club disbanded quietly, none of us able to face the stage again. Our innocence was shattered, replaced by sleepless nights and lingering nightmares. Years later, I still dream about that knife, the way it felt in my hands, its hidden secrets. Even now, when I pass the old auditorium, my pulse quickens, the memories vividly painful. Because that's the thing about real horror. It's not always masked killers or haunted houses. Sometimes it's an ordinary teacher you trusted, hiding dark truths behind the props, waiting silently in the wings. I've always been good at noticing things others miss. Mom calls it having an old soul. My therapist calls it hypervigilance from growing up with an unpredictable alcoholic father. Whatever it is, I was the first to realize something was off about Mr. Black. He appeared at Lakewood High on a Tuesday in late October, sliding into Mrs. Peterson's AP US History position without fanfare. The principal simply announced that Mrs. Peterson had taken an unexpected medical leave and Mr. Black would be covering her classes for the foreseeable future. First impressions? He looked like he'd stepped out of a J. Crew catalog. Crisp button-downs with rolled sleeves, tailored slacks, expensive-looking leather shoes, mid-30s maybe, with thick dark hair, and the kind of jawline Instagram filters try to give you. The girls immediately started whispering about how he looked like a younger Jake Gyllenhaal. The guys noticed the vintage Omega watch that probably cost more than their cars. "Good morning, everyone," he said that first day, voice smooth as river stones. "My name is Daniel Black. You can call me Mr. Black." That was it. No background about where he'd taught before. No personal anecdotes. No, "I'm excited to be here." No, "I'm excited to be here." Just his name and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. But he knew his history. God, did he know it. He lectured about World War II with the vivid detail of someone who'd lived through it, describing the sounds of Normandy shore, the smells of burning villages, the exact weight of an An-1 Garand rifle. When Jason Chen asked how he knew such specific details, Mr. Black paused for just a beat too long. "Research," he finally said. "Very thorough research." By Friday, the entire junior class was obsessed with him. He wasn't just teaching history. He was performing it. Even I found myself looking forward to his class, despite the unease I couldn't quite place. Then I noticed how he watched Ellie Myers. Ellie wasn't particularly remarkable. Quiet, artistic, middle of the social hierarchy. But whenever she spoke in class, Mr. Black would go completely still. His attention focused on her with an intensity that made my skin crawl. When she answered questions, he'd nod slowly, as if confirming something to himself. Have you noticed how Mr. Black stares at Ellie? I asked my best friend Tanya during lunch a week after his arrival. Oh my God, are you jealous? Tanya laughed. Half the girls in school would kill to have him look at them like that. It's not like that, I insisted. It's predatory. Wow, dramatic much. He's just a teacher who actually pays attention to his students, but it wasn't normal attention. The next day, I caught him studying a photo on Ellie's Instagram through his phone during lunch break. I only glimpsed it for a second before he swiped away, but it was definitely her, standing in front of what looked like an art exhibit. Why was our substitute teacher stalking a student's social media? That's when I decided to look him up myself. Daniel Black teacher yielded nothing useful. No LinkedIn profile, no articles mentioning previous teaching positions, not even a social media presence. I tried variations, different spellings, adding history teacher, educator, nothing. It was as if Mr. Black hadn't existed before walking into our school. I tried not to overreact. Maybe he used a different name professionally. Maybe he was super private, but the knot in my stomach wouldn't unravel, especially when I overheard him asking Ellie about her parents after class, specifically about her father, who traveled frequently for business. The third week of Mr. Black's tenure, Ellie was absent on Monday. No big deal. People get sick. But Mr. Black seemed agitated, checking the door repeatedly during class, his lecture lacking its usual flair. When he called attendance and no one answered for Ellie, his knuckles whitened around his pen. After school, I spotted him in the parking lot, sitting in a black Audi with tinted windows, staring at his phone. As I walked past, I glimpsed his screen, a map application with a pulsing blue dot. Was he tracking someone? That night, I went down an internet rabbit hole. If Mr. Black wasn't a teacher, who was he? I remembered a trick my cousin who works in HR had mentioned. Reverse image search. I pulled up our school's website, found a faculty photo they'd already added him to, and ran it through Google. No exact matches, but similar images brought up a news article from 3 years ago, showing a man who looked remarkably like Mr. Black, except with lighter hair and glasses. The caption read, "David Blackwell, person of interest in the disappearance of Annabelle Myers, remains at large. Myers, like Ellie, heart racing." I read the article. Annabelle Myers had vanished from her college campus in Oregon. Her roommate reported seeing her with a teaching assistant named David Blackwell the night she disappeared. Police wanted to question him, but he'd vanished too. The case had gone cold. I searched for photos of Annabelle. The resemblance to Ellie was unmistakable. Same heart-shaped face, same dimple when she smiled. Sisters, cousins. No way this was coincidence. Tuesday morning, Ellie was back in school. During class, Mr. Black seemed calmer, though his eyes rarely left her. I noticed something else. A small, strange symbol drawn on the corner of the whiteboard. 3 interconnected triangles. The same symbol I'd glimpsed tattooed on his wrist when his sleeve rode up. After class, I approached Mrs. Winters, the school secretary who knew everything about everyone. Did the district do a background check on Mr. Black? I asked casually. Her smile tightened. Of course, honey. We're very thorough. It's just, I can't find anything about him online. Where did he teach before? I believe he was at a private school, she replied vaguely. All his paperwork checked out. Principal Davis was very impressed with his references, but her eyes darted away when she said it, and I knew she was lying. That afternoon, I waited until the hallway emptied and slipped into the main office. On Mrs. Winter's desk was a stack of substitute teacher applications. I flipped to Mr. Black's with trembling fingers. His references listed 3 schools, none of which existed according to a quick Google search. The phone numbers all had area codes from different states. His emergency contact was just D. Blackwell, with a number that, when I checked later, was disconnected. Most disturbing was his handwriting. Precise, architectural letters identical to a note I'd seen on Ellie's desk that morning. We need to talk. Family matters. After school. Wednesday, I decided to follow Ellie after final bell. She walked to the art room, then changed direction when she saw Mr. Black waiting by the door. Instead of leaving through the main entrance, she cut through the gym and exited via the rarely used side door. Smart girl. She sensed something too. I kept my distance as she hurried across the athletic fields toward the student parking lot. Mr. Black emerged from the building moments later, scanning the area before heading in the same direction, walking just a bit too fast to be casual. When Ellie reached her car, he called out to her. I couldn't hear what he said, but she stopped, her posture stiffening. He approached, hands spread in a gesture of harmlessness that somehow made him look more dangerous. I inched closer, pretending to text while straining to hear their conversation. Just want to talk about Anna, he was saying. I know she's your sister. Ellie's voice shook. Half-sister. I barely knew her. But you look so much like her. But I knew her. His tone was wistful, almost reverent. She never mentioned you. But when I saw your photo in her room, you were in her apartment. Ellie backed against her car. The police did. The police didn't understand our relationship. The police didn't understand our relationship. Mr. Black stepped closer. Anna was special. We had plans. And then your father interfered, filled her head with lies about me. I fumbled for my phone, ready to call 911, when the school's side door banged open. Coach Martinez walked out, heading toward his truck. Mr. Black immediately stepped away from Ellie, his demeanor shifting seamlessly from menacing to professional. Think about what I said, he told her, voice carrying in the now quiet parking lot. I'll see you tomorrow in class. As he walked away, he spotted me. Our eyes locked. He knew I'd been listening. That night, I compiled everything. The fake references, the news article about Annabelle, photos comparing Mr. Black and David Blackwell. I emailed it all to Principal Davis from an anonymous account, then texted Ellie. Don't come to school tomorrow. Mr. Black isn't who he says he is. An unknown number texted me 10 minutes later. Mind your own history, or you'll become part of it. I barely slept, jumping at every creak in our old house. Thursday morning, police officers were at school, speaking with Principal Davis in her office. Relief washed over me. They were investigating my tip. Mr. Black was notably absent, his classroom dark. But by lunch, rumors spread that they weren't there for Mr. Black at all. Ellie's mother had reported her missing after she never came home Wednesday night. In history class, a different substitute handed out busy work. No one had seen Mr. Black. His Audi was gone from the staff parking lot. As I left the classroom, I noticed the strange triangle symbol had been erased from the whiteboard, replaced with a new one, a small spiral with what looked like my initials inside it. The police questioned everyone who'd been in the parking lot Wednesday afternoon. I told them everything I had seen and heard. They took my anonymous email seriously now, launching a full investigation into Daniel Black and his connection to both Myers' sisters. 2 days later, they found Ellie's car abandoned at a rest stop 50 miles north. No sign of Ellie or Mr. Black. His Audi was discovered in a long-term airport parking garage, wiped clean of fingerprints. Security footage showed him boarding a flight to Mexico under yet another name, Christopher Blackwood. They eventually pieced it together. David Blackwell had been obsessed with Annabelle Myers, his student at Portland State. When she rejected him, she disappeared. 3 years later, he tracked down her younger half-sister, Ellie. After seeing her in their father's social media posts, he'd created an entirely false identity, somehow falsified credentials, and infiltrated our school just to get close to her. The strangest part, Mrs. Peterson's medical leave was news to her when police called. She'd been drugged and left unconscious in her home the day before Mr. Black appeared. Someone had called the school pretending to be her doctor. Ellie has been missing for 6 months now. The FBI believes Blackwell Black is part of a larger network of predators who share tactics, false identity templates, and even that strange triangle symbol. Their sick calling card found at multiple abduction sites across the country. I check missing persons databases weekly, hoping for news about Ellie. I've become hyper-vigilant about new teachers, guest speakers, even substitute cafeteria workers at our school. The administration has completely overhauled their background check system. But the damage is done. None of us feel safe anymore. Sometimes I wonder if I could have done more sooner, if I'd trusted my instincts the first day instead of being captivated by his charismatic teaching. Would Ellie still be here? When I close my eyes at night, I still see Mr. Black's face, that perfect practice smile that never reached his eyes. Last week, we got a new guidance counselor. Her credentials are impeccable. Her references check out, and everyone loves her already. But yesterday, I noticed a small spiral drawn on her office whiteboard, with what looked like another student's initials inside. And when she saw me looking at it, she smiled. That same smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. History, it seems, is destined to repeat itself. The pipes in my apartment still drip sometimes, and every blink takes me back to Redwood High, to that basement smell of rust and secrets. I'm 19 now, working retail in Ohio, but 2 years ago, I was a junior in that small Oregon town, stuck in a school of buzzing fluorescence and locker room gossip. Nobody talks about what happened, not even my best friend Jenna, who laughed it off back then. But I know what I saw in the boiler room, and no one believed me until it was too late. Redwood High was your typical school. Chewed gum under desks. Pep rallies. The janitor, Mr. Kearney, glaring if you lingered in the halls. I was just a kid who liked doodling comics in my notebook, trying to pass trig. But there was this group. 6 students the kind teachers loved. Mason Briggs, quarterback with a megawatt smile. Lila Chen, debate champ. Quiet Sarah, who aced chem. They weren't on any club list, but I noticed them because of the smell. Sharp, like bleach, trailing them after lunch. My gut said something was off, but my head said I was just bored, seeing drama where there wasn't any. It started one Tuesday when I stayed late to retake a math test. The halls were empty, the clack of my sneakers echoing. I passed the basement stairs, and there was Mason dragging a tarp-wrapped bundle. Heavy, leaving a dark, wet streak. Not oil, too shiny, too red. My breath caught, heart pounding. I told myself it was paint, maybe a prank, but my hands shook as I grabbed my bag and bolted. Outside, the air was cold, the parking lot silent, but I felt eyes on my back, like the school was watching. The next day, I overheard them through a bathroom vent, their voices slithering up, low and sharp. Mason's voice. The 5th step binds us. No hesitation. A scrape followed, metal on concrete, like a blade dragged slow. My phone slipped, clattering on the tiles, and the voices stopped, dead silent. A knock came from the vent. Slow, deliberate, 3 times. My pulse roared, legs frozen, the air thick with that bleach smell. I ran, telling myself it was pipes, a prank, but my gut screamed, run faster. I didn't sleep, the knock replaying in my head, the top streak glowing behind my eyes. I told Jenna, my best friend, who loved true crime podcasts and dyed her hair blue. She laughed, sprawling on my bed. Mason? The manatee-saving jock? Bet he was hauling trash, Alex. Too much sigh, dude. Her grin was wide, but her fingers twisted her bracelet, a nervous tip. I wanted to believe her, to laugh it off, but the scrape lingered, like it was carved into me. A week later, I found the locker, number 312, near the gym. Its lock busted. Inside, photos were taped in a spiral. Dozens of faces, kids who'd transferred mid-year. Clara Anguille, Tyler Russo, all smiling, circled in red Sharpie. At the center, me, a candid from the cafeteria, my head down, doodling. My stomach lurched, a bang echoed nearby, a locker slamming shut. I grabbed the photo, sprinting to the library, my breath ragged. There, I found Tyler's transfer letter, faxed at 3:07 a.m., the day after he vanished from homeroom. My hands shook, the red circles burning in my mind. I kept quiet, avoiding Mason's group, their eyes following me in the halls. their bleach smell everywhere. Mr. Kearney caught me by the basement stairs one day, his mop dripping. Stay out of there, kid. He growled, his knuckles white. I nodded, but his warning felt heavy, like he knew something. The night of the pep rally, the boiler room door was cracked open. Steam leaking out, sour, like burnt hair. My flashlight trembled as I crept down, the hiss of pipes loud, a low hum beneath it, rhythmic like voices. The stairs creaked, leading to a maze of rusting pipes. The air hot, choking, the hum grew, words in a tongue that prickled my skin. Not Latin, old or wrong. Through a door's crack, I saw them, hooded, circling a drain, Mason holding a knife, its blade glinting. Below him, Mr. Kearney, bound, gagged, his eyes wide, blood trickling from his temple. Mason's voice was hollow. The seventh vow needs sacrifice. No witnesses. My foot scuffed a pipe, a sharp clink. 6 heads turned, their eyes glowing, gold, like embers, not human. I screamed, sprinting up, their footsteps pounding behind, the hum swelling, chasing me. I hit the parking lot, gasping, dialing 911. Sirens wailed, cops swarming. But the boiler room was empty. No blood, no hoods, just Kearney's keys on the floor. The sheriff called him missing, his face on the news. But they found nothing else. I told Jenna, my voice shaking, but she hugged me, whispering, "You're stressed, Alex. It's okay." I dropped out, moved to Ohio, cut contact, the hum still in my dreams. The cop said it was a prank, a breakdown, but I found Kearney's keys in my backpack. A note tucked inside. Membership's open. Ask Tyler. Last week, a yearbook came. No sender. Every face scratched out, except mine. A photo slipped out. Jenna, in the boiler room, smiling. A red Sharpie circle around her face. I burn every letter, change my number. But last night, my apartment's pipes started humming. Low, rhythmic. Downstairs, 3 knocks echoed. Slow, deliberate, the bleach smell seeping through my door. I lock my windows, keep a bat by the bed, but every plink of the pipes, every shadow, feels like Mason, his knife still sharp. The choir waiting for me to join. The city's hum can't drown that hum, those eyes. I am safe, they say. But the boiler room's still there. Its drain open, my name carved in their spiral. I'm 17, a junior at a rundown high school in a small Ohio town. I'm not a troublemaker, but I landed detention for sneaking my phone in class. Stupid, I know. Our school's old, built in the 50s, with a condemned west wing that's been chained shut since before I was born. Kids say it's because of asbestos or a fire, but no one really knows. During detention last week, stuck in the library until 8 p.m., I saw lights flickering in that wing through a cracked window. Then came the sound, muffled cries like someone trying to scream through a gag. I froze, my heart pounding. The janitor, Mr. Kessler, a grizzled guy in his 60s, caught me staring. Had nothing in there, he growled, his eyes too sharp for comfort. Just pipes? But the cries didn't sound like pipes. The library was dead quiet. Just the hum of flickering fluorescence and the scratch of my pencil. The cries came again, faint but unmistakable, seeping through the walls. My skin prickled. I told myself it was my imagination. Detention boredom messing with me. But my hands were clammy as I gripped my phone. I snapped a quick video, the shaky footage catching the faint, pulsing light from the West Wing's windows. I texted my friend Jake, who's into urban exploration. "You ever hear about the West Wing?" He replied instantly. "Stay out. Bad vibes." I couldn't shake it. After detention, I lingered in the hall. The school dark, except for the red glow of exit signs. The chain doors to the West Wing loomed at the end of the corridor. The padlock rusted but solid. A faint draft carried a sour smell, like mildew and something sharper. Metal, maybe. My flashlight beam caught scratches on the door, deep and uneven, like someone had clawed at it. My stomach twisted. I backed away, but a low thud echoed from the other side, like something heavy hitting the floor. The next day I asked my history teacher, Miss Carver, about the wing. She's the kind who knows every town rumor. Her face tightened, and she said it was closed after an incident in the 80s. Wouldn't say more. Her hands fidgeted with her coffee mug, and she changed the subject fast. That night, I snuck back to the school, my heart hammering. I told myself I just needed proof, something to show the cops or post online. The West Wing's windows were boarded, but one board hung loose, splintered like it'd been pried open. I slipped through, the air inside thick with dust and that metallic tang. My flashlight swept over crumbling desks, chalkboards cracked like spiderwebs, and walls stained with something dark. The cries came again, louder now from deeper in the wing. My legs felt like jelly, but I followed the sound, each step crunching on broken glass. A classroom door hung ajar, and inside, my beam caught a pile of rags, or so I thought. It was clothes. Kids' clothes. Sneakers, a backpack, a torn jacket. My breath caught. This wasn't asbestos. A shadow moved in the corner, quick and silent. I spun, my flashlight shaking, but nothing was there. The cries stopped, replaced by a soft scrape, like nails on a chalkboard. I bolted for the window, my sneakers slipping on the dusty floor. Outside, I gulped air, my chest tight. I checked my phone. My video had caught something. A figure in the background, blurred but tall, standing in the doorway I'd just passed. I showed the footage to Jake the next day. He went pale. Said he recognized the jacket from a kid who went missing years ago, back when we were in elementary school. We went to the cops, but they brushed it off. Vandalism, they said. Or squatters. They searched the wing, found the clothes, but no one else. Kessler, the janitor, was there when they questioned him. His hands shook, and he kept glancing at the chain doors, like he was waiting for something to burst through. 2 nights later, I woke to a scratching sound outside my bedroom window. My heart stopped. I peeked through the blinds, and there was Kessler, standing in my yard, staring up at my window. His eyes gleamed in the moonlight, unblinking, a shovel in his hand. I ducked, my hands trembling as I dialed 911. By the time the cops arrived, he was gone. But they found a note tucked under my wiper blade. Stop looking. The cops dug into Kessler's past. He'd been at the school since the 80s, always quiet, always watching. They found a hidden room in the West Wing, behind a false wall. Chains, duct tape, photos of kids pinned to the walls, some from decades ago. Kessler had been luring kids there, using the wing as his hunting ground, covering his tracks with maintenance excuses. He vanished before they could arrest him. I'm in a new town now, finishing high school online. I don't sleep much. Every creak, every shadow, feels like Kessler's eyes. The cops never found him, but last week, a package arrived at my new address. No return label. Inside was a photo of me, taken through the West Wing's window that night. On the back, in shaky handwriting, I'm still here. I don't go near old buildings anymore. I don't trust locked doors or quiet janitors. If you ever hear cries in a place that's supposed to be empty, don't investigate, just run. I should have deleted that stupid app the first time I saw what they were posting about Sarah Chen. Hey, Madison High's confession page started innocently enough. Just another anonymous Instagram account where students could spill gossip without consequences. Things like I have a crush on the guy in my chemistry class, or I cheated on the SATs. Typical teenage drama that everyone pretended to hate but secretly devoured during lunch breaks. I'm Emma, a junior, and I'll admit I checked the page religiously. It was like watching a car crash. You know you shouldn't look, but you can't help yourself. My friends Jess and Marcus felt the same way. We huddle around someone's phone in the cafeteria, scrolling through the latest confessions and trying to guess who wrote what. Everything changed 3 weeks ago when the threat started. The first post appeared on a Tuesday morning. Sarah Chen thinks she's so smart in AP biology. Someone should teach her a lesson about dissection. Room 237, third period. She always sits in the back row by the window. My stomach dropped when I read it. Sarah was in my biology class. and every detail was accurate. She did sit in the back row by the window during third period. The specificity made my skin crawl. "This has to be someone in our class," I whispered to Jess as we walked to first period. "They know too much. Maybe it's just coincidence," she said, but her voice was uncertain. By lunch, the post had dozens of comments, mostly other students expressing concern or outrage. But buried among them were replies that chilled me to the bone. "Room 237 has those big windows. Easy access from the maintenance ladder outside." Another, "Biology dissection tools are sharp enough." I found Sarah eating alone in the library, avoiding the cafeteria buzz. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, and her hands shook as she turned the pages of her textbook. "Oh, hey," I said, sliding into the chair across from her. "You okay?" She looked up, and I saw real fear in her expression. "Everyone's staring at me. My parents want to pull me out of school. Maybe that's not such a bad idea," I said quietly. That afternoon, Sarah didn't show up to biology. Neither did 3 other students from our class. Mrs. Henderson taught to a half-empty room, the tension thick enough to cut with a scalpel. The posts escalated over the next few days. The anonymous user began targeting other students and teachers with increasingly detailed threats. They knew which teachers stayed late for grading, which hallways were empty during certain periods, and where the security cameras had blind spots. "Meet me in the basement storage room after school, Mr. Peterson. I know you always clean the gym equipment down there alone on Thursdays. I've been watching. Ashley Morrison parks in spot 47 every morning. Silver Honda Civic. Lisan's play starts with 8. She gets out at exactly 7:42 a.m. when the parking lot is still mostly empty. The worst part wasn't just the threats. It was how the person behind them seemed to know everything about our daily routines. They described the exact time I bought lunch each day, the route I took between classes, even the fact that I always stopped at my locker between second and third period. Emma Walker stops at locker 186 every day at 9:47 a.m., always alone for those 30 seconds while our friends go ahead to chemistry. Wouldn't take much to corner her there. When I saw that post, my blood turned to ice. I screenshot it with trembling fingers and immediately showed Marcus. "This is beyond creepy," he said, his face pale. "They're watching all of us." The school administration finally took action after parent complaints flooded in. Principal Davis sent an email about increased security measures and monitoring online activity. But it felt too little, too late. The damage was done. Students were scared. Parents were furious. And teachers jumped at every unexpected sound. I started varying my routines, taking different routes between classes and avoiding being alone whenever possible. But the feeling of being watched never left. During lunch, I'd scan the cafeteria, wondering which face belonged to our tormentor. Every classmate became a suspect. The breakthrough came during 5th period computer science. I was working on a coding assignment when I noticed something odd about Jake Morrison's screen. He had multiple browser tabs open, and one of them looked like the back end of an Instagram account. As he quickly closed it, I caught a glimpse of the confession page's admin panel. Jake Morrison, Ashley's older brother, quiet kid who sat in the back corner and barely spoke to anyone. My heart hammered as I pretended to focus on my assignment. Jake had access to everything. Student schedules from his part-time job in the main office, security camera blind spots from his volunteer work with the tech crew, and detailed knowledge of everyone's routines. From simply observing, after class I followed him at a distance. He walked purposefully toward the basement, the same storage area mentioned in his threat to Mr. Peterson. My phone buzzed with a new confession page notification. Someone's getting too curious. Emma Walker should mind her own business. The basement is darker than she thinks. He knew I was following him. I should have run. Should have gone straight to the office or called my parents. Instead, I crept down the basement stairs, my phone flashlight cutting through the gloom. The storage room door stood slightly ajar, yellow light spilling out. Inside, Jake sat surrounded by printed screenshots of every threat he'd posted. Photos of students and teachers covered the walls. Pictures taken from hidden angles, some clearly shot with a telephoto lens through windows. In the center of it all was a detailed map of the school with everyone's daily routines marked in different colored ink. "You shouldn't have come down here, Emma." I spun around, Jake stood in the doorway behind me, blocking my exit. His usual nervous demeanor was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. The confession page was just the beginning, he said, stepping closer. Everyone thinks they're so important, so untouchable. I wanted them to feel what it's like to be invisible, to be watched without knowing it. Jake, this is insane. You're scaring people. His laugh was sharp and bitter. Good. They should be scared. Do you have any idea what it's like to be completely overlooked? To move through this school like a ghost while everyone else gets attention, gets noticed. I backed toward the far wall, my eyes scanning for another exit. There wasn't one. Your sister Ashley. She didn't even know I existed until I started posting about her, he continued. Now she pays attention. Now everyone does. This isn't the way to get noticed, Jake. It's the only way that works. He pulled out his phone and started typing. One last confession should wrap this up nicely. My phone buzzed. The new post made my blood freeze. Found the snoop in the basement storage room. Room B12. She won't be asking questions anymore. Room B12. The post went live. Within seconds, comments started pouring in from other students who could see I was in real danger. That's when I heard them. Footsteps thundering down the basement stairs. Mr. Peterson's voice calling my name. Students shouting. Jake's face went pale as he realized his final post had backfired, bringing help instead of isolating me further. The next few minutes were chaos. Teachers and students flooded into the storage room. Jake was led away in handcuffs while I sat shaking in the hallway. Finally safe, but forever changed. The confession page disappeared that night. The school implemented new security measures and mandatory counseling for anyone who'd been threatened. Jake was expelled and charged with multiple felonies related to stalking and terrorizing. But even now, 3 months later, I can't shake the feeling that someone is watching. Every notification makes my stomach clench. Every unfamiliar face in the hallway makes me wonder if Jake inspired someone else. Because the scariest part wasn't the threats themselves. It was discovering how much someone could learn about you just by paying attention. How vulnerable we all are when someone decides to watch from the shadows. I still check over my shoulder when I walk to my locker. I still vary my routines. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder how many other invisible students are watching, waiting, planning their own way to finally be seen. The confession page may be gone, but the confessions continue. Whispered in hallways, shared in group chats, posted on new anonymous accounts that pop up faster than administrators can shut them down. And I can't help but wonder, who's watching us now? My name is Sarah Miller, and I've been a 4th grade teacher at Oak Haven Elementary for 5 years. It's a good school, mostly. Predictable. Mr. Thompson, our principal, was always a bit stiff. A man who valued order and adherence to rules above all else, but he was generally harmless, if a little out of touch. The kind of principal who knew your name, but not much else about you. That all changed on a Tuesday, a day that started as ordinary as any other. The first sign that something was wrong was the unscheduled emergency assembly announced over the intercom, just after lunch recess. No explanation, just all students and staff report to the auditorium immediately. Kids grumbled. Teachers exchanged puzzled glances. Emergency assemblies were usually for severe weather warnings or, God forbid, something worse. This felt different. The atmosphere in the auditorium was already thick with a nervous energy as we filed in. Mr. Thompson stood on the stage, not at the podium, but pacing slightly. His usually immaculate suit jacket rumpled, his tie askew, his thinning hair was disheveled, and his eyes had a wild, unfocused look I'd never seen before. He was sweating, despite the cool air in the hall. A low murmur went through the teachers. This wasn't the Mr. Thompson we knew. He began to speak, his voice starting as a low mumble, then gradually rising in volume and intensity. He wasn't talking about a gas leak or a power outage. He was rambling about corrupting influences from the outside world, about the insidious whispers trying to poison our children's minds. He talked about the breakdown of order, the erosion of values. His words were disjointed, paranoid. Kids were starting to get restless, their initial excitement turning to confusion, then fear. I saw Mrs. Davis, the kindly fifth-grade teacher, shoot a worried look at Mr. Henderson, the gym teacher, who just frowned, his arms crossed. Then a sound cut through Thompson's increasingly agitated speech. A heavy metallic thump click. It came from the main auditorium doors at the back. My blood ran cold. Mr. Grissom, the school's quiet, hulking janitor, who always seemed to materialize out of nowhere, was standing there, having just slid the heavy bolts into place. He met my gaze for a fraction of a second, his expression unreadable, then turned back to face the stage, a silent sentinel. We were locked in. Mr. Thompson's voice rose to a near shout. The old ways are failing. The world outside this school is sick, and I will not let that sickness seep in here. These children, he gestured wildly at the sea of small, scared faces, are pure. They are the future, and I will protect them. We will create a new Oak Haven, a sanctuary, right here. He started outlining new rules, bizarre, nonsensical decrees about thought purity, approved conversations, the cleansing of outside contaminants. He said the school would be their new home indefinitely. We have everything we need right here to start anew. A few younger kids started to cry. Some teachers were subtly trying to use their cell phones, but the signal in the old auditorium was notoriously bad, almost non-existent. Thompson seemed to notice. There will be no contact with the outside, he bellowed. They are the source of the poison. They will try to stop us, to corrupt us. But we are stronger. He pointed a trembling finger at Ms. Albright, the young art teacher. Some among us have already been weakened. They will need re-education. Miss Albright went pale. The air was suffocating. This wasn't just a principal having a bad day. This was a complete psychotic break, and he had hundreds of children and a dozen staff members trapped with him. His eyes, wild and bloodshot, scanned the room, daring anyone to challenge him. It was to Henderson, the gym teacher, a big, usually jovial man, who finally broke the terrified silence. Now, Principal Thompson, he said, his voice calm but firm, taking a step into the aisle. I think we all need to just take a deep breath. Maybe we should let the kids go back to their classrooms. Thompson's head snapped towards him. Back to their classrooms? He shrieked, his voice cracking. So they can be fed more lies? More poison? No. The lessons start now. The first lesson is obedience. Absolute, unquestioning obedience. He lunged towards a heavy fire extinguisher mounted on the stage wall, yanking it free. Those who do not obey will be cleansed of their defiance. He held the extinguisher like a weapon, his knuckles white. Mr. Grissom, the janitor, took a step forward from the back doors, his presence a silent threat. Chaos erupted. Kids were screaming. Teachers were shouting. In that moment of pandemonium, I saw my chance. The side fire exit near the stage was usually alarmed, but rarely bolted. I grabbed the hands of two of my closest students who were frozen in terror and yelled at Mrs. Davis the fire exit. Now! We scrambled towards it. A small group of us, teachers, and a few older students. Thompson was distracted, waving the extinguisher, screaming about traitors and the new order. Mr. Henderson was trying to talk him down, a brave but futile effort. As I reached the fire exit, I saw Mr. Grissom moving to block another group trying to get to the main doors. The push bar on the fire exit gave way with a groan. Fresh air, blessed, cool air, hit my face. We stumbled out into the deserted schoolyard, then ran towards the front office, hoping someone there hadn't been in the assembly, hoping a phone line was still working. The aftermath was a blur of police cars, frantic parents, and the surreal image of Mr. Thompson being led away in handcuffs, still muttering about purity and sanctuary. Mr. Grissom, it turned out, had been a long time, deeply loyal follower of whatever twisted ideology Thompson had concocted, convinced he was protecting the innocent. They said Thompson had suffered a complete mental breakdown, fueled by a cocktail of stress, isolation, and extremist rhetoric had found online. He'd been planning his new Oak Haven for months, stockpiling some supplies in a locked basement room, convinced he was saving the children from an imminent societal collapse. Oak Haven Elementary is open again. There's a new principal, a lot of counselors, But the auditorium, for me, will never be the same. It's no longer a place of school plays and award ceremonies. It's a place where the ordinary shattered, where a trusted authority figure became a terrifying captor, and where the screams of frightened children echoed off walls that were supposed to keep them safe. The doors are unlocked now, but the memory of that heavy metallic click still makes my blood run cold. And I know that sometimes the most dangerous walls aren't made of brick and mortar, but of a mind that has completely, terrifyingly broken free from reality. I never expected a school renovation project to unearth the darkest chapter of my childhood. Yet here I was, standing in the gymnasium of Westbrook Elementary, staring at a time capsule that had remained buried beneath the playground for 32 years. As both a former student and current parent of a third grader, I'd volunteered to document the school's modernization project for the town newsletter. My daughter Emma attends the same classrooms I once did, walks the same hallways, plays on the same playground, though soon that would change with the new construction. Principal Harmon had called me personally when the workers found the metal box. "Alex, they've discovered something you might remember. A time capsule from 1991. Wasn't that your grade?" The memory surfaced immediately. 25 eager fifth graders contributing items for future generations. Our teacher, Mrs. Lowell, overseeing the project with clipboard efficiency. I remembered bringing my favorite baseball card, carefully sealed in plastic. What I didn't recall was why the capsule was being opened 3 decades earlier than planned. "The construction team needs to pour the new foundation next week," Principal Harmon explained. "We thought we'd make it an event. Tomorrow afternoon, if you can make it." The gymnasium buzzed with excitement when I arrived the next day. Current students sat cross-legged on the floor, while parents and staff lined the walls. Emma waved from her class line, proud that her dad was somehow connected to this piece of school history. The time capsule, a dented metal box roughly the size of a small suitcase, sat on a table draped with the school colors. Principal Harmon gave a brief speech about connecting past and present before inviting the construction foreman to do the honors. The lid resisted at first, then opened with a metallic groan. Inside, neatly arranged, were the expected artifacts of early 90s childhood. Cassette tapes, trading cards, handwritten letters, a Nintendo game cartridge, fashion magazine cutouts. Each item drew oohs and ahs from the audience as Principal Harmon lifted them out, reading the attached name tags: Michael Torres, Teenage Mutant Ninja, Turtles action figure, Sarah Winslow, friendship bracelet, Alex Chen, baseball card. I smiled as she held up my contribution, the memory of selecting it now vividly clear. But as she reached deeper into the box, my smile faded. Something glinted in the fluorescent light, a small heart-shaped silver locket on a delicate chain. My stomach dropped. I knew that locket. Everyone who attended Westbrook Elementary in 1991 would recognize it. It had belonged to Lily Sullivan. Lily, who vanished on her walk home from school in April 1991, 2 months before our time capsule was buried. Lily, whose freckled face had stared out from missing posters all over town that spring. Lily, who was never found. Principal Harmon's voice faltered as she lifted the locket. "There's no name tag on this one." A strange hush fell over the adults in the room. The children, oblivious to the significance, continued to fidget and whisper. I scanned the faces of my former classmates who had come for the event. Their expressions mirrored what I felt: confusion, unease, dread. "That's Lily's," someone finally said. "Mrs. Keller, our former school librarian, now in her 70s, but still sharp-eyed. Lily Sullivan's locket. She never took it off." Principal Harmon carefully placed the locket back in the box, her professional demeanor cracking slightly. "Perhaps we should continue this another time," she suggested, closing the lid. The crowd dispersed in murmurs and whispers. I lingered, watching as Principal Harmon spoke quietly with the school resource officer. When she noticed me, she gestured me over. "Alex, you were in Lily's class, weren't you?" "Yes," I said. "We all were." "5th grade, Mrs. Lowell. Did you know anything about this?" She nodded toward the box. "About the locket being included." I shook my head. That's impossible. Lily disappeared before we buried the capsule. She was wearing that locket the day she vanished. It was mentioned in all the news reports. The resource officer made a note. I'll contact the detective who handled the original case. If he's still around. I couldn't sleep that night. The image of the locket kept surfacing in my mind. Small, tarnished, but unmistakably Lily's. It had been her most prized possession. A gift from her grandmother. Inside was a tiny photo of her family. How had it ended up in our time capsule? The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the town library. The librarian helped me access digitized copies of the local newspaper from 1991. I scrolled through coverage of Lily's disappearance, the initial reports, the search parties, the police statements, the gradual fading of updates as weeks passed without leads. One detail jumped out at me from an interview with Lily's mother. She was wearing her silver locket that day. She never took it off, not even for swimming lessons. If someone found it, they'd know it was hers. It has our family photo inside. I stared at the screen, a chill running through me. The locket was with her when she disappeared. So how did it end up carefully placed in a time capsule buried by our class 2 months later? Someone in that gymnasium yesterday knew the answer. Someone who had been there in 1991. I made a list of everyone involved with the time capsule project. Mrs. Lowell, our principal Mr. Gaines, the 25 students in our class, and the school staff who might have had access. Many had moved away over the years, but social media made them easy to find. Mrs. Lowell had passed away in 2015. Mr. Gaines was in a nursing home with advanced dementia. Then I remembered Mr. Winters, the school janitor. He'd helped us dig the hole for the time capsule, a quiet presence in the background of the ceremony. He'd worked at Westbrook for decades before retiring. When was it? Around 2010, I thought. I searched his name online and discovered he still lived in town, in the same small house 2 blocks from the school. Before I could talk myself out of it, I drove there. Mr. Winter's house looked exactly like I remembered from childhood. Neat but modest, with carefully tended rose bushes lining the front walk. He answered on the 3rd knock, more stooped than I recalled. His hair now completely white. Recognition dawned slowly in his eyes. You're the Chen boy, Alexandra's son. Alex, I confirmed. I was wondering if I could ask you about something from when I was at Westbrook. He hesitated, then stepped back to let me in. The house smelled of coffee and something baking. Normal. Ordinary. I followed him to a small living room, where a half-completed jigsaw puzzle occupied the coffee table. They found our time capsule, I said, watching his reaction carefully. From 1991. His hand trembled slightly as he lowered himself into an armchair. Did they now? Wasn't supposed to be opened yet. Construction project, I explained. They had to move it. He nodded, eyes fixed on the puzzle pieces. Find anything interesting? Lily Sullivan's locket was inside. The silence that followed was deafening. Mr. Winter's shoulders sagged, as if a great weight had settled upon them. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. I wondered when this day would come. My heart pounded. You knew it was there. It wasn't a question, but he nodded anyway. I saw who put it in. Who? I leaned forward. Mr. Gaines, your principal. Mr. Winter's eyes finally met mine. The night before the ceremony, I was working late, waxing the hallway floors. He came in, opened the capsule. It was sitting in his office, and placed the locket inside. He didn't know I saw him. I struggled to process this. But how did he get Lily's locket? She was wearing it when she disappeared. Mr. Winter's gaze drifted to the window, toward the direction of the school. That's what I asked myself for years. There was only one answer that made sense. The implication hung in the air between us. I remembered Mr. Gaines, a tall, authoritative man with a booming voice and reputation for strict discipline. He'd always made me nervous as a child, though I couldn't have explained why. Did you tell anyone? I finally asked. Who would believe the janitor over the principal? Bitterness edged his voice. I had no proof, just what I saw that night. And then he locked the capsule, and the next day you kids buried it. But why would he put evidence in the time capsule? Why not just get rid of it? Mr. Winters shook his head. Some people need to keep trophies, reminders, but they also need to hide them where no one will find them. A time capsule not meant to be opened for 50 years. Perfect hiding place. I left Mr. Winter's house with my mind reeling. Could it be true? Was our beloved principal responsible for Lily's disappearance? And if so, were there others? The police took my statement seriously, especially after Mr. Winters confirmed what he'd told me. They obtained a warrant to search the nursing home room of former Principal Gaines, now barely aware of his surroundings. Behind a loose baseboard, they found a small box containing items that made my blood run cold. A barrette, a hair ribbon, a child's bracelet, each labeled with initials and dates, LS 4-1791, NT 6-587, KW 9-1282. The investigation expanded. Ground-penetrating radar was brought to scan the school grounds. 3 small bodies were eventually found, buried at different locations around the property. Lily was beneath the old oak tree where we used to play tag. The others, children who had disappeared from neighboring towns, were under the baseball diamond and behind the equipment shed. DNA confirmed their identities. Dental records, the small personal items they'd carried on their last days alive. The town reeled from the revelations. How had we not known? How had we sent our children to a school where such horror lurked behind a respected facade? Parents demanded answers. The school board held emergency meetings. Grief counselors were brought in. I attended Lily's proper funeral 32 years after her disappearance. Her parents, now elderly and stooped with grief renewed, clutched each other as the small casket was lowered into the ground. The silver locket, now evidence in a murder investigation, couldn't be buried with her, but a photo of it was placed among the flowers. Emma asked me why I was crying when I picked her up from her grandmother's house that evening. I couldn't tell her the whole truth. She was too young, but I held her tighter than usual. Sometimes I said, we think we know a place completely, but we don't see what's hiding beneath the surface. The new gymnasium at Westbrook Elementary was eventually completed, built atop fresh concrete where no secrets lurked. A memorial garden was planted where the old playground had been, with 3 stone benches bearing the names of the children whose lives had been stolen. I still volunteer at the school, still write for the newsletter, but I view the building differently now. Every institution has its blind spots, its dark corners where predators can hide in plain sight. Every community has secrets it buries, hoping they'll never be unearthed. But time has a way of revealing what lies beneath. Sometimes it takes 32 years, sometimes longer. The truth may be buried, but like our time capsule, it waits patiently to be discovered. And when it emerges, tarnished but unmistakable, we must face it, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much we wish we could bury it again, because some things are meant to be found. The final bell has rung, but the silence that follows is heavy with unspoken horrors. 7 lessons in fear. Learn it in places we once believed were safe. Did a particular story resonate with that faint unease you felt in your own school days? The true terror often is discovering the familiar twisted into something unrecognizable. Which chilling narrative will follow you home tonight? Leave your thoughts, your lingering anxieties, in the comments. The faculty is always listening. If these tales of academic dread have struck a chord, subscribe to Nightmare True Horror and give this video a passing like. Until next time the school doors creak open with fresh nightmares, study hard, and perhaps look a little closer at those around you.